I never thought I'd be the kind of man who'd find himself in this position, standing in my own backyard, watching my wife drape herself over another man like I was nothing more than a forgotten piece of furniture in her life. But here I was, and I had never felt rage like this before. It all started with my neighbor, Denise. I was in my office at home, buried in emails, when I heard the knock. It was sharp, impatient. I sighed, rubbing my temples, and got up to answer it. Denise lived across the street. A retired nurse. She spent most of her time tending to her garden and keeping a close watch on the neighborhood. She wasn't the type to make casual visits. "Hey, Denise," I said, puzzled. "Everything okay?" Her expression was tight, hesitant, but something about the way she shifted on her feet told me whatever she was about to say wasn't going to be easy. "Jack," she started, lowering her voice. "I wasn't sure if I should tell you this, but I couldn't just sit back and watch." I felt my stomach clench. "Tell me what?" She exhaled sharply. "It's about Melanie. My wife." I stiffened. "What about her?" Denise hesitated for a second before her eyes darkened. "I was out watering my roses when I saw her in your backyard. She wasn't alone." My pulse quickened. "Who was with her?" She hesitated. "That yard guy you hired a few months ago. Ryan, I think his name is. The young one with the tattoos." My head started spinning. What were they doing? Denise pursed her lips. "Sunbathing. Together. And, Jack, they were kissing." The world seemed to tilt. I swallowed hard, forcing out words I wasn't sure I wanted the answer to. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "I know what I saw." I stood there, gripping the doorframe like it was the only thing keeping me upright. Melanie had been distant lately, always on her phone, coming home late, showering the second she walked in the door like she was washing something off her skin. I chalked it up to stress. Work. But now, I wasn't so sure. "Thanks, Denise," I muttered. "I'll handle it." She gave me a sympathetic look before heading back across the street. I closed the door, my heart hammering. I should have confronted Melanie right then and there. Should have stormed into the backyard and demanded answers. But I didn't. Instead, I decided to see it for myself. That's why I organized my workflow so that I had a few days off. And I decided to spend those days observing my wife. One day, I walked quietly to the sliding glass door, careful to stay hidden behind the curtains. My breath hitched as I peeked through the small gap. And there they were. Melanie, sprawled on a lounge chair in nothing but a red bikini, laughing at something Ryan had said. He was lying beside her, shirtless, his arm draped casually over the side of her chair, his fingers grazing her stomach. It was subtle, but intimate. Too intimate. Then, as if in slow motion, she turned to him, smiled, and kissed him. My chest tightened. The heat rising inside me was something primal, uncontrollable. I had never felt this kind of betrayal before. My hands curled into fists. I yanked the sliding door open so hard it rattled. Melanie jolted upright, her eyes widening. Ryan shot to his feet like a guilty teenager caught sneaking out. "Jack," Melanie started, scrambling for words. I didn't let her finish. I grabbed her wrist and yanked her off the chair. Before she could react, I shoved her backward, straight into the pool. She shrieked as she hit the water, arms flailing. Ryan took a step back. "Hey man, let's just..." I turned on him next. Before he could react, I grabbed him by the arm and shoved him into the water after her. He went down with a strangled yelp, splashing wildly. I stood at the pool's edge, watching them both struggle to get their bearings. Melanie coughed, her hair plastered to her face. "What the hell is wrong with you?" "What's wrong with me?" I repeated, my voice cold. "What the hell is wrong with you?" She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. "How long?" I demanded. "How long have you been doing this?" She hesitated, and that was all the answer I needed. I turned to Ryan, who was still half drowning in the shallow end. "Get out of my house," I said, my voice like ice. He scrambled up the pool steps, dripping wet, grabbing his shirt off the chair. "Jack, man, Now." He bolted. I turned back to Melanie. She was still sitting in the pool, breathing heavily. She wiped water from her face and glared up at me. "You're overreacting," she spat. It wasn't what it looked like. I laughed. A cold, humorless sound. "Oh, really?" Because from where I was standing, it looked like you were shoving your tongue down his throat. She crossed her arms, still chest deep in the water. "So what? You're perfect? You're always working, Jack. You barely notice me anymore." I stared at her, my blood boiling. "That's your excuse?" She shrugged. "It just happened." I took a deep breath. Then another. "We're done," I said finally. She scoffed. Jack, come on. I'm divorcing you. Something flickered in her eyes then. A split-second flash of fear. Don't be ridiculous, she said, trying to climb out of the pool. We can work through this. No, I said, stepping back. We can't. She stared at me, her wet hands gripping the edge of the pool, her face twisted in something between desperation and rage. I turned and walked away. But I wasn't just walking away from her. I was walking toward revenge. And it was going to be brutal. Melanie thought she had won. She thought she had humiliated me, fooled me, played me. She was wrong. In the weeks that followed, I took everything from her. Her money? Frozen. Her car? Sold. Our house? Mine. And when the divorce was finalized, and she realized she had nothing left, no support, no allies, no home, I watched with satisfaction as the weight of her choices crushed her. She had gambled everything on Ryan. And Ryan? He was long gone. Just like her life. And just like me. I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I had made sure of that. Thank you for listening to the story to the end. Please like, share your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel.